Congratulations on surviving town meeting. You're either a newly elected board member or you're an existing board member. For newly elected members, make sure that you go to the town clerk and swear in your oath of office within 10 days following the annual school district meeting. For all other board members and new board members, it's time for board reorganization, and this happens at the first meeting following the election. The superintendent in the interim should make sure that all newly elected board member names are submitted to the Commissioner of Education. As you move forward in your board reorganization, one of the first orders of business is to elect officers, and those are the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk. By law, there's no allowance or provision for vice chair, but it's very important to have that role. Also, you can't have co-chairs, even though in a lot of committees it makes sense. In boards and board operations, you need to have a board chair. So as you consider who might be the best chair, longevity is not the sole factor. You ought to think about someone who is impartial, who can help the board reach consensus, who's a open and kind of deliberative type person that really is willing to follow a process. And so important that you elect the right person to be chair. Now that you've elected your board chair, elect the vice chair, the clerk. There are three kinds of clerks. One is the elected board member who's the clerk, and often that person is responsible also for taking minutes. That's the least effective. And I say that because they not only are taking minutes, they're also trying to be part of deliberation and to vote, and it's very difficult to multitask at a board meeting, especially when you have public there and you're required to have accurate notes. So the two alternatives are an admin assistant, who might be the superintendent's admin assistant, is a good choice because that person is in the superintendent's office and can help with the minute edits. Another option is hiring a person from outside, particularly for meetings, and many districts will hire a person to do all of the local board meetings as well as the supervisory union board meeting if you're in a supervisory union. Following the election of officers, some operations important to take care of. And first is, with respect to the board clerk, make sure that whoever the clerk is, that you're turning the meeting minutes around within 5 days in draft format, available for anyone who would like or who requests a copy of. Establishing subcommittees are part of board reorganization, deciding who's on which committee, important as far as the structure. The superintendent calls the original board reorganization meeting to order, and it's the superintendent who manages or facilitates the election of the chair, and then the chair takes over for the duration of the board reorganization. Also, what press, what newspapers the board is going to report agendas to, and very important, and most boards do this, is public access cable. Do we have an opportunity? Are we on public access cable now? And if not, we should be. And so having that conversation and deciding how that's going to go, and it's really, the process doesn't cost the board anything as far as the camera and the production. It's just having somebody to person the camera at board meetings. And a lot of times that's a student from maybe a high school who is getting credit for community service would be a likely candidate to film your meetings. And sometimes your local protocol is it's somebody from your local PEG access station. To assist you with further decision-making structure, there's a state law requirement that school boards and all publicly elected boards use Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure. There are two styles of Robert's Rules. One is full Roberts, which starts by the board chair asking for a motion, followed by a different board member with a second. There's deliberation about that topic, and then someone calls the question, a decision gets made, and gets reflected in the board minutes. If you'd like to know more about Robert's Rules, We actually have an additional web stream vignette on our website that you can learn more about this important topic. Continuing in the structure of decision making and how the board operates is the VSBA Code of Conduct. You'll see that on our website. It's in our resource directory. And what that's really about is it defines how the board will treat each other, how they'll treat members of the public. It's about chain of command. It's a lot of different kind of pertinent issues, and we have a web stream about that. So there's more information also in other links on our website. Very important that the board has a board development strategy, and that's part of board reorganization. In other words, what board members are going to attend what workshops throughout a given year, both internally within the supervisory union as well as outside of the local school district. And for new board members, that ought to include meeting with the school board chair and the superintendent, going through local orientation. In other words, what are the procedures, the protocols for how the board operates within the district, within the supervisory union. We have a VSBA web stream vignette about that you can find on a different link from our website. In addition, we have a DVD package particularly developed for new board members that has a series of different workshops around budget development, negotiations, and general board operations. And that is available for the school district for a fee of $75. Important that in the advocacy role, which is an important component of what school boards do, that you identify who the government relations network representative is to represent your board through the Vermont School Boards Association. That's a GRN representative, and you can sign up and register for that from our website. The last thing for board reorganization is for those 46 of 60 governance entities is to decide who is going to be the supervisory union representatives from your respective school boards. If you're an operating district, you have 3 representatives on that SU board. If you're a non-operating district, meaning you don't have an elementary school or high school, you're going to have 1 representative. And it's only those representatives that are elected by the board that are able to vote at supervisory union meetings. Any board member may attend, as could any other citizen, because they are open meetings, but only the elected representatives are the ones who may cast votes on behalf of the local districts. As we bring to closure the board reorganization process, new board members take the oath. The reorganization meeting happens the first meeting following the election. The superintendent opens the meeting, facilitates the election of a board chair, then the board chair takes over and facilitates the election of a vice chair and of clerk. You establish when your meetings are going to happen, what the press or media connections will be, newspapers, public access cable. Then you do the code of conduct, which outlines how you're going to operate. We encourage that boards sign this code of conduct just to attest that you're committing as a board to following these outlined rules. You'll elect a government relations network, the GRN rep, to do legislation reporting 2 ways. One, gathering information from Vermont legislature, from Congress, communicating that every meeting to the board, and then communicating back to representatives different board positions. There's also a resolutions process with that through the Vermont School Boards Association, where we can advocate en masse with all the boards in the state. That's a conversation, a topic for another day, but you can find those resolutions on our website. And finally, you're one of 1,480 some odd school board members that represent 284 school districts. So it's a pretty big club, and it's a very important job because you're not only expending a great deal of public money, you're also providing oversight for the education of about 94,000 students in the state, if we were to take the aggregate total of all board members and all students. Critically important job, Best of luck to you, and keep in touch with your association.